Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be putting together granny squares. Perfect for if you're working on a blanket or if you're putting together a table runner. The method that I'm about to show you is used for all of your granny squares that you're joining together. So once you get this under your fingertips, then you can do this method for all of your granny squares in your granny square rows. Okay, so to start, you will need your 2 finished granny squares. You will need a tapestry needle, and I've cut a piece of yarn that is 4 times the size of the granny square that I have. So this is a 5-inch square, and the piece of yarn that I've cut is 4 times that square. So it's about 20 inches in length, which is more than enough to join these two together. So grab your squares, grab your needle, get your yarn ready, and we will start off with the whip stitch. Okay, so I have my tapestry needle ready to go, and I have my 2 finished granny squares ready to go as well. Now make sure that the granny squares are, the right side is facing up so that the knots from your weaving are facing down. Now take one side and flip it over onto the other, making sure that the right sides are together. Now just do a quick check and make sure that the stitches are all lined up before you start weaving these together. There's nothing worse than getting to the end and realizing they're not matched up, because then you have to just take it out and do the whole thing over again. So just make sure that both sides are matched. Then you're going to take your needle and find the corner stitch in that top granny square, and then find the corner stitch in the bottom granny square and put your needle through the loops and just pull through. Now you're going to leave a tail at the end because you'll want to weave these in after. Now bring your needle back to the front and find the loops of that next stitch on both squares, and just put your needle through both loops on each square and pull. Bring your needle back around, find the loops on the next stitch on the top and bottom granny square and pull. Pull your needle back to the front and then find those 2 loops in the next stitch and pull. Now when you're pulling each stitch, you want to make sure that it's tight, but not too tight. And if it's loose, then you're going to see gaps in between your seams. So make sure that they're pulled tight, but not too tight. So you might have to play around with that just to get the proper tightness. And this is something you will repeat for every stitch all the way down, and you can start to see a nice row of stitches there. So all you have to do is put your needle under the loops of each square and pull through. So we're going to continue this all the way down to the end, and I will meet you here. Okay, so I'm at the last stitch of this row, and just like at the beginning, I'm going to put a stitch into the corner stitches of each square just to finish that off. Now when you open it up, there's your whip stitch right in that seam. Now as you can see, I used a dark gray charcoal colored yarn, and the reason why I did that is so that for the purpose of this video, it was easier for you to see how the stitches go in. But with the whip stitch, each stitch is visible within that seam. Now, if this was a personal project, I would have used the same color of yarn as the border of my granny squares. The stitches would still be visible, but they wouldn't be as obvious given it's the same color. Now, I feel like this gray looks fine and it adds a little bit of color to your seams, so you can use a different color if you want. It's more of a personal preference. Now, if you don't wish to see your stitches in the seam, then just keep watching. I will be demonstrating the mattress stitch, which hides all of these stitches. So keep watching. Okay, now it's time for the mattress stitch. And again, this stitch is used if you want an invisible seam between your squares. Okay, so I trust that you have your tapestry needle ready to go. And you're going to start with your granny squares side by side, and you want the right sides to be facing up. Okay, so to start, we're going to take the left square, and with our needle, we're going to go through that corner stitch from bottom to top. And just pull that through and leave a bit of a tail. Now, for the first few stitches, you're going to want to make sure that that tail stays where it's supposed to. Sometimes it can get tangled up in those first few stitches, so just make sure that that's always free and clear. Then we're going to take the corner of the right square and do the same thing. You're going to go from bottom to top and pull through. Now we're going to go back to that corner stitch that you just put in, and this time we're going to go through that same stitch, but we're going to go from top to bottom of that same stitch that you started with and pull through. See, look, there's that tail. He wants to get involved. Then you're going to go from bottom to top in the next stitch above that corner. And then we're going to jump over and do the same thing on this side. So you're going to go from top to bottom of that same stitch and pull through. And then go from bottom to top in the next stitch above that corner stitch and pull through. And this is, you're going to repeat this for every stitch all the way up. So we're back over on the left. We're going from top to bottom and then from bottom to top in that next stitch. See the tail, I tell you. Then on the right side, do the same thing. You're going from top to bottom of the stitch you did before and pull through. And then from bottom to top in that next stitch beside that. And this is, again, you're just going to repeat this all the way up. Now, the cool part, and this is the cool part, when you pull the tail and you pull the top, you pull your stitches really tight on both sides, the stitches disappear. So you can't see that gray yarn at all. So that's the trick, that's the magic. And I would recommend pulling your stitches closed about every 3 to 4 stitches. It will go by a lot easier if you do them as you go. If you wait until the top, you're just going to have to sit and pick at it to pull it nice and tight. So to make life a bit easier, I would do this. I would tighten your stitches every 3 to 4 stitches as you go up. So that's it. That's all you need to do. Just repeat that all the way up, and then when you're finished, just weave in all of your ends. Now that's the mattress stitch. I showed you the whip stitch. These are the 2 stitches that I use most often when I'm closing up my granny squares. If you have any questions or need any help, please don't hesitate to ask. And as always, thank you so much for watching.